We're ready for the start. They're off.
Welcome in, everybody. It's official on Tuesday, our first December podcast of the calendar. Jeff, we still got a couple weeks left in the year. Some great racing last week and a lot to talk about. Welcome in.
Yeah, it was good racing. We thought it would. It rained in New York, so kind of muddled the form, as they would say, a little bit, but still a couple of outstanding performances there. Del Mar finished out their season this weekend, and there was some excellent racing there as well. Lots to talk about, as you mentioned, and maybe a championship still to be decided. We'll talk about that as well. An Eclipse Award kind of up in the air with based on the results of last week. So, and also a couple of nice 2-year-olds to talk about that might just be pretty good. So we got plenty to talk about today.
And despite Mother Nature's tough goings, we still got turf racing back at Gulfstream Park this weekend. A little bit later and a little bit less than expected, but turf racing back in South Florida, that's a good thing. Let's go to New York for our first topic on the big board this week. Guts, grits, and gravy. Jeff, I don't know, is this a Cracker Barrel menu item, or what are you going with here?
Well, I mean, a lot of guts, a lot of grit for sure, and gravy to finish out a campaign. This was a mind control, and it was such a neat thing to see him conclude his career. Well deserved, a thoroughly professional, tough as nails racehorse. And you talk about guts, he had to lay it all on the line in the Cigar Mile. It did not look like he was going to get there. I was kind of rooting for him. He was a generous 3-1 if you liked him. But somehow, some way, he managed to reach back for that reserve energy that I wasn't sure he had and go out a winner in a Grade 1.
He did it the hard way. He did it in the slop, and he did it last Saturday at Aqueduct.
Outlier is still the leader. Then Mind Control, Get Her Number on the outside. White Barrio is down at the rail. Then Zandon, 3/4, 111-1, and now they're in the stretch. And here comes Get Her Number on the outside. Mind Control is right there. White Barrio is down at the rail. Zandon is out in the middle of the track. It is Get Her Number with Mind Control and White Barrio. The three of them will fight it out to the finish. Zandon is in fourth. They come on for the wire. Mind Control and Get Her Number. Oh, it's very tight. It may have been Mind Control, and if it was, what a way to wrap up a terrific career. Mind Control and Get Her Number in the Cigar Mile.
I'm happy for Mind Control. I'm also happy that he turned away Got Her Number. I can't get back into the Peter Miller vibe. Sometimes you root against things, and I was kind of happy with the way that result turned out. But as for Mind Control, let's talk about him. A graded stakes winner in 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22 with a Grade 1 here at the end. This horse was campaigned brilliantly to earn $2.2 million throughout his campaign. Jeff, he only made one Breeders' Cup appearance. That was in the Juvenile in his freshman season back in 2018. They found spots where others weren't. They put him where he belonged, and it paid off.
I was always hoping that they would stretch him out, being by a Travers winner in Stay Thirsty, but they knew their horse better than I did for sure, because around one turn, he has always been very, very tough. And he actually won a 2-turn race, although he had to back into it last time out at Parks. In the Parks Dirt Mile, but he got beat in neck, but he got moved up. But this was what he probably always wanted to do and be, and that's a 1-turn miler. It turns out that he's ran this distance 6 times, 5 wins overall, 12 out of 29. And he was a 2-year-old great Group 1 winner, Grade 1 winner, and when he won the Hopeful. And now at age 6, he's just as good as he ever has been. But it's time to move on. He'll be retired and go to stud for his breeder, a Red Oak stable in Florida. But, man, was that a gritty performance. I mean, this is class personified. And I thought Mind Control just laid it on the table. I just was so thoroughly impressed with his performance.
The older horses go 1-2 in there. The story was the 3-year-olds taking on the elders. You had Zandon, the winner of the Bluegrass. You had White Barrio, the winner of the Florida Derby. Neither one with a major excuse. White Barrio looked like the winner turning for home. He cut the corner, looked like he was going to save all the ground, and he was just kind of flat through the final, eighth of a mile or so. Mm-hmm. And Zandon made a little bit of a run and never really popped with anything. Jeff, it's not looking like a good 3-year-old crop. As these 3-year-olds have taken on older horses, they have struggled. There has not been a lot of success within this group, and with the retirements that we have seen, man, it's table on the 23 campaign trail or bust. There just doesn't seem to be a 3-year-old who wants to just lurch himself forward. I mean, I guess White Barrio, with a home game in the Pegasus World Cup, the way he loves Gulfstream Park, would be a natural for that race. And that could be a chance for one of these 3-year-olds to get a signature win. Of course, he'll be 4 by then, but to get a signature win against the older handicap division. But it's not looking good for this current sophomore class.
No, you mentioned White Barrio. It's Gulfstream, so he could win that. And we still don't know if he's just a Gulfstream horse or not.
Yeah.
Zandon, though, I mean, he's supposed to close the deal on this, isn't he not? I mean, he had a good trip on the outside. He didn't get any mud in his face. He had dead aim every chance, and he just didn't punch it in. And we've seen this from him before where he runs well, but he just doesn't seal the deal. And this was even more disappointing because he didn't even manage to hit the board. So I don't know about Zandon. And again, kind of a condemnation of the class. I still think that Taba's got a chance to be a good 4-year-old, but other than that, there's not a whole lot left. Certainly, none of them really show the consistency, the durability, and the willingness to lay your body down that Mind Control showed throughout his career. As for Get Her Number, he was a Group 1 winner, Grade 1 winner as a 2-year-old, so it looks like he's got a chance to be a decent sort of 5. But the rest of them, I'm still looking for horses that are going to make next year's older handicap division. Yeah. And so far, they're few and far between as far as I can see.
Still one more shot for them on December 26th, opening day at Santa Anita in the Malibu, Grade 1, 7-furlong race there. But you may get more of a sprint set in that one than horses who are going to affect the route division amongst the older handicap horses in 2023. We'll find out, though. December 26th, the date to remember and put on your calendar. Such a big day across racing and First Technologies with opening day at Santa Anita for the new Classic meet, as it's being named, opening day of the Championship meet at Gulfstream Park, and 6 stakes races on the Christmastide program at Laurel Park that same day. It should be fantastic on the 26th. Let's go to our second topic this week on It's Official, and it's saving her best for last. Regal Glory's run some good races throughout her career. Maybe she topped it off best of all in the Matriarch.
Can Hamwood Flyer keep going here? 3/4 109.81. She's into the stretch with a 5-length lead. Regal Glory is cutting into it quickly now. In fact, she just blows on by. Oh, and look at her pull away. The classy Regal Glory rolls in the Matriarch. And it's wide open for second. England's Rose was in a photo with Hamwood Flyer, Pizza Bianca, and Avenue de France, and a final time of 1:33.60 seconds.
Before we laud the performance by the winner there, Regal Glory, how about Hamwood Flyer opening up big again and not being able to hold on? My buddy Jerry Schottenkirk used to be the dean of night school, great handicapper at Remington Park. When he watches a race on a laptop with a horse like that with a big lead and it looks like they're going to get caught, he tilts the laptop so it looks like the other horses have to run uphill to catch him. It's just a mental thing. I mean, I'm sure if Jerry had Hamwood Flyer, that thing was like 90 degrees straight up coming down the stretch. You're yelling wire with that horse.
You got to do what you got to do. I mean, I don't know if it affects it, but it doesn't hurt trying it. But we've seen Hamwood Flyer out here, and I kind of expected that to happen, where she would steal off, and then Regal Glory would kind of see her, and then okay, I'm going to come get you. But Regal Glory won this race last year, the Matriarch, earned a 101 buyer. I think this year she earned a 100. So I guess it really is time to retire. I mean, she's slipping by 1 whole point. But visually, this was very impressive, Jeremy. I mean, she sat off the pace. I wasn't sure if this was just a race because it was there that they figured, why not? She's okay. Maybe she's not as good as she used to be. But the way she turned it on in the final furlong, she's 6 years old, turning 7, so it's time to go home and make some babies now. But boy, did she look good. This might have been the most impressive performance she's had this year, and she's had some very, very good top-class Group 1 type races. So I don't know. I mean, do you think maybe this puts her over the top? There are couple of other fillies that have credentials to win an Eclipse Award in this division, but Regal Glory may have had the last laugh.
Well, one of the things about her is you look at her victories, and we put the tail of the tape up with Regal Glory, her stablemate in Italian, and Warlike Goddess for Bill Mott. One of the things that's impressive about Regal Glory is she won the best filly and mare turf race at Gulfstream, the Pegasus filly and mare turf, at Keeneland, the Jenny Wiley, at Belmont, the Just the Game, and at Del Mar, the Matriarch. When you win the best turf race in your division at Gulfstream, Keeneland, Belmont, and Del Mar, you've pretty much done it. And then you throw in the fact, that she took on the boys at Keeneland this year, and she's got a great case to make. In Italian, of course, with her 4 wins, almost identical records, Jeff. The real difference between In Italian was holding on and hitting the board in the filly and mare turf, where Regal Glory tried the mile and finished off the board against the boys. That's the only difference in the resume. They faced each other twice. They're 1-1 head-to-head. Then you've got Warlike Goddess. I mean, she was the long runner of the division, right? I mean, you're looking at In Italian and Regal Glory were the mile to mile and an eighth types. Warlike Goddess to the mile and a half and beyond with her 3rd place finish in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Did she do enough against the boys, winning the Joe Hirsch? What do you make of that champion female turf runner?
I don't know. I may have to ask the college football playoff committee, ask what they think, because it's that close. But I will say this. Regal Glory won 3 grade 1s, In Italian won 2 grade 1s, which is, if you're looking for like the 5th, tiebreaker, you go down that far. And Regal, one of the races that she won, you mentioned the Pegasus early on, was not a grade 1. He should have been, but it wasn't. So, you look at the form that she's had, the way she finished it out, the fact that she did it from January all the way through December, pretty impressive as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I might lean to Regal Glory. In Italian is awfully good. And Warlike Goddess took a different path just because that's her, that's her style. She takes the early part of the year off. And then not only that, but her win in the Joe Hirsch may have been as good of a race as any filly and mare did. She beat the boys, beat the best North American boys there, and there was nothing wrong with her race in the Breeders' Cup Turf. No. And she did win 3 out of 5 with seconds and thirds. And so I don't know. I mean, it just depends on where you place the emphasis on and what you deem as a handicapper or evaluator of form, what you place the most emphasis on. I would tend to probably favor Regal Glory, but I'm interested to say, where's the committee now? So we talk about this stuff. We back and forth. Where do you land on this, Jeremy?
Well, the funny thing here is Tuesday won the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf, right? She's not even in the discussion, and she won the race for that division. But the others spread out other ways. And I'm not making a case for Tuesday. I'm just saying it would be a lot easier to make that decision. If one of these happened to win the Filly Mare Turf, that would have been the ticket puncher. My gut tells me I don't think this is the right thing, but my gut tells me it's going to be Warlike Goddess. I think that the appreciation of beating the boys in the Joe Hirsch and as well as she ran on Breeders' Cup Day, I think, and she might be a year late and probably deserving maybe last year, and she just came up a little short at Del Mar or she would have won it last year. Sure. I think there's going to be a lean to Warlike Goddess. I kind of think that that she will get the title this year. We'll see. But if I had to pick between the two, I would take Regal Glory, the 2 Chads, and I think Regal Glory is probably the best and most deserving of those 3. But I think it's going to go to Warlike Goddess if I had to make a prediction.
Maybe she deserves it for, I don't know, a lifetime achievement award or something.
Well, Susan Lucci, right? I mean, was she the one who never won an Emmy, but then got the lifetime
soap opera star? I think didn't she ever win one? I don't know.
I think they gave one to her at the end out of
okay, fair enough. All right,
everybody gets a medal this year. That's the way it works in 2023. Let's go back to the big board. Third topic this week. It's Do What Your Big Sister Done. Jeff throwing some Elvis lyrics at us. I guess you're going the Elvis route, though, Jeff, but this song's been redone a couple times. Dwight Yoakam did a really good country version in the 90s, and Pearl Jam even did a really good version of it. So,
Yeah, but I got Elvis's autograph in 1958 when he had a car accident. Yes, he did. He had a car accident on my street corner. Yeah, La Cienega and 4th. Yeah, he had just gotten out of the Army, and, I mean, it was Sunday morning, and it was a crash, and the rumor was spreading that he was the guy in the car, but he was okay. And I'll never forget.
I'm glad you threw that in there.
Running down the street to get the autograph. I figured I was like 8 years old. I wasn't that impressed, but I figured I'll go. And he gave everybody an autograph. So I'm a partial. I never was a crazy Elvis fan, but he's always been one of my favorites because he was such a cool cat. when he got into that accident on my street corner back in L.A. So I went with that. But I don't know whether Julia Shining is going to be as good as Malathat, her big older sister. They both won this race, but obviously Malathat ran faster and arguably was more impressive. But 2 for 2 as a 2-year-old being by Curlin, I think the future is pretty bright. And they sort of look alike as sisters. What do you think?
Yeah, you got Malathat on the left there with Amelia Green from Todd Pletcher's stable, and then on the right is the hotshot 2-year-old filly who just won the Demoiselle. She could be, she could be this quality. Neither one has that brilliant turn of foot, knock your socks off kind of move in their races to make you think, well, they're not, they're not vulnerable. No, every time you see them, you think, oh, this one might be able to get beat. This one might be able to get beat. And they just grind and do it. It'll be interesting to see now. They're both winners of this 1 1/8 race. And how do you get from here to the Kentucky Oaks, Jeff? With Malathat, she only had one start. She stayed in the barn all winter long, showed up at Keeneland in the Ashland, had one prep to the Kentucky Oaks and in. I don't think that's the same approach they're going to take here. Probably get 2 preps, I would have to think. Could be back to Keeneland for the Ashland for Julia Shining, but something between now and then, I would suppose, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's supposed to. Todd Pletcher's already said that he expects her to run in the Suncoast Stakes, February 11th at Tampa Bay. And you figure, why would you take her to Tampa Bay? Because he wants to keep her around 2 turns. And there isn't really anything early at Gulfstream Park for 3-year-old fillies that would be that far. So, and that's one of the reasons why you get a lot of these, and it's with colts as well. You get these 2 turning 3s at 3-year-olds that don't want to back up to a 1-turn mile. So they go up to Tampa Bay, and it's not a much of a race, but they're obviously looking down the road and what to get to where they want to be. But Julia Shining made hard work of it in the Demoiselle over and off track, but she managed to again find that drive to win a race. And I think even though she didn't run very fast, in fact, she ran more than 2 seconds slower than the Colts did in the Remsen. She got there, and I give her credit for that.
Let's go back and take a look with John Embriel's call.
And the 2-year-old fillies head for the top of the stretch. There's room on the inside for Foggy Night, and she's coming on through and going up to challenge for the lead. Right there is Tribal Queen, and on the outside is Royal Spa. Julia Shining is out in the middle of the track, along with Affirmative Lady. And now they're coming for the 8th pole, and Julia Shining is coming on now on the outside. Here comes Julia Shining up to grab the lead with a 16th to the finish, but Affirmative Lady is right there, along with Gambling Girl. They come on for the finish in the Demoiselle. Julia Shining won it. Julia Shining from well off the pace. She's now 2 for 2. She wins the Grade 2 Demoiselle. She's a full sister to champion Malathat. The sky's the limit.
We shall see down in Florida over the course of the winter. She would also be a good one for the Fairgrounds Oaks, too. That long stretch at Fairgrounds, that would seem like a nice race that could set her up, too, if they don't want to go to Keeneland and run in the Ashland, which uses the short stretch finish line at Mile 16th at Keeneland. So if they want that long stretch and they feel that she's still a grinder, Fairgrounds Oaks could be the major prep that gets her to the Kentucky Oaks. Let's go ahead now to our 4th topic this week. From the Oaks Trail to the Derby Trail, the Remsen Stakes run over that same sloppy track on Saturday at Aqueduct for the 2-year-olds. Jeff, there were no stars in this year's Remsen, absent of a Todd Pletcher, Hot Shot, Chad Brown, Shug McGahee, the kind of barns we're used to seeing in this race. What we ended up with was Danny Gargan in the winner's circle, and he's had some good horses over the years, but not often playing on the Kentucky Derby Trail. Let's go back and see how WHNL pulled it off.
W&L on the outside of Arctic Arrogance. The 2 of them are right together as they head for home. 3/4 in 1, 12 in 1. Tuskegee Airman is all out in 3rd, but now 4 lengths from the lead as they come down for the 8th pole. Arctic Arrogance on the inside and W&L on the outside. The front 2 have separated themselves from the rest of the field. W&L on the outside narrowly. Arctic Arrogance continues to battle on. They come on for the finish, and it is W&L to win the Remsen by a long neck.
I see how you get W&L with the spelling, but I read that it's WHNL. So it's 4 initials in here, kind of like a TV station or whoever the H is in these 4 letters of abbreviations got the raw deal in the Remsen. Their H didn't get pronounced in there. But look, let's talk more seriously about this horse, WHNL. Wild Gams, the Dam, Good Magic, the Sire, both high quality. Wild Gams was a straight pure sprinter. She produced Cazadero, who's been a straight pure sprinter. But now that this horse has won in 1 1/8, Jeff, do you just slough off the pedigree here and say, look, Good Magic obviously got the 1 1/4. WHNL got the 1 1/8 as a 3-year-old or as a 2-year-old on the Derby Trail and a major contender, I would have to think.
If you can win on 1 1/8 on that track as a 2-year-old, I don't worry about distance anymore. And of course, Good Magic, son of Curlin. Wild Gams, as you mentioned, the fast horse. Here's what's interesting to me is that Wild Gams, and she had Cazadero and another horse named Mount Brave and another stakes group horse named Almost Famous. But she was 17 years old when she produced this colt. And so that's getting up in years. And most breeders, they kind of draw a line about after 15. They're a little bit more suspicious. But Cazadero was last year. So, I mean, she's still going strong. And Good Magic is a really promising young stallion if you're willing to wait a little bit on them. I mean, he's not going to win any 5/8 sprint in July for you. But, I mean, I like him. He was a good racehorse, really good racehorse. And he's getting good racehorses. And this colt, he was 4th in his debut behind Instant Coffee. That was a sprint. Nothing wrong with that. Kind of gave him a little bit of an educational run at Saratoga. Right. Comes back and breaks his maiden, but again, does it on a sloppy track. And, of course, this track was wet. So what do? I mean, do you think he's going to be a legitimate Derby-type horse? We know he can get the trip. Or is he just a mud freak? I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to find out soon enough. Right. But one thing I don't worry about for him is stamina. And he looks like a quality colt.
Of course, the horse you mentioned, Instant Coffee, that beat him in the debut, has since come back to win the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes at Churchill Downs, grade 2. So there's some good quality, but that was a 7th length defeat, sprinting around 1 turn, but the fast track was the difference there. So we are going to have to see with WHNL. He'll go to Florida with Danny Gargan, who winters down there, but according to the Racing Form article I read, they said could come back north for the Wood Memorial, certainly a race that the connections are considering as a spring target, and that would make a lot of sense. Any Remsen winner back to the Wood Memorial always makes a lot of sense about 5 months later, and so that could be the path, but we'll get a shot down at Gulfstream. And good thing down at Gulfstream, we'll get to see this one trained with the XBTV workout videos, whether stabled at Gulfstream or Palm Meadows, wherever they're at. We'll get a chance to see WHNL develop on the 3-year-old path. Let's go to our 4th topic on the board this week. I believe we're up to number 4, right?
Actually, we're up to 5 now.
We're up to 5. Let's go to our 5th and final topic. It's our Stars of Tomorrow, and another shot to maybe put one on the Kentucky Derby Trail. It was the Maryland Juvenile last weekend at Laurel Park, and it's not the place you'd expect to find perhaps a Triple Crown contender, but Post Time certainly delivered.
And Post Time still trailing. Post Time yet to pick it up. Into the far turn, Johnny Z from Albany, sneaking away from Coffee with Chris, a length and 3/4 next. Now Post Time. Here comes Post Time. Post Time was last and now moving fast on the outside all the way up to 3rd. Post Time with a surging move. Midway on the turn, Post Time keeps on coming and has to catch Johnny Z from Albany at the top of the lane. Turning for home. Johnny Z from Albany with a 3-length lead. Post Time got his sights set on Johnny Z from Albany. Post Time, Johnny Z from Albany. They're going to dispute it in the final 3/16 of a mile. Post Time, very confident ride on the outside, grabbing a neck in front now from Johnny Z from Albany. And then on the inside is Coffee with Chris. Here's a stunning-looking winner, a Maryland-bred star in the making. Post Time. It is Post Time. Post Time, Johnny Z from Albany, and then it is Coffee with Chris.
Eric Camacho, the exercise rider. This is the only horse that he rides. They give him the stakes mount, and he delivers. Now 3 for 3 aboard this one. And Jeff, this was visually impressive. It's what you like to see. And, you know, we could talk about what did you beat. Johnny Z from Albany, the horse in front, won the Maryland Million Lassie or Maryland Million Juvenile easily by 4 lengths prior to that. But you're like, okay, so you beat Maryland breds. His first 2 wins were against Open Company. And I want to tell you about a horse he beat in his career debut. His career debut, he won by 2 lengths. He beat a stablemate named Prince of Jericho in there for stablemate for trainer Brittany Russell. All that runner has done is come back to win by 11 3/4 and 5 3/4 in the next 2 starts in maiden special and allowance company for Brittany Russell. May not even been the best Brittany Russell they thought going into that race, beating a really good horse. He's got 2 wins against open company. The last win in allowance company, he beat a Rudy Rodriguez horse who cashed a check in the Tremont and the Saratoga Special. He's run okay against the open company, and nobody's warmed him up yet. This win against Maryland Bred's really impressive colt here.
And did it easily. Never really was asked in the final furlong over a wet track, last 8th and 12 and change. And so he was just galloping along. And he's by Frosted and out of a Fairbanks mare. Now, Frosted, we know, will get you a distance horse, and Fairbanks with a Giants Causeway 1.5-mile type horse. So, yeah, and he's out of a stakes-winning mare, a mare that was a Maryland bred-based mare. Yeah. Second dam Opening Verse, third dam Affirm, fourth dam goes way back to a horse named Promised Land, an old Hirsch Jacobs horse who I actually saw run. I actually saw him run about 53, 54 years ago. He was a stayer. So, I mean, the pedigree is there. These races are all around one turn. He doesn't have a lot of tactical speed, but he's got an extended run. I can't wait to see him stretch out. And I know that because, he's where he is. He's a Maryland bred. He probably won't be asked to run against anything real for a while, but eventually they're going to have to test him. But I'm following this colt post time. He's a good mover. He's got stamina. He's got a great turn of foot, apparently, of what we just saw. And he obviously can handle any surface. So why can't he be a good horse? And the buyer numbers are in the low 80s, but he did it so easily. I really think this is a good colt post time. He's one to follow. Put him down.
I don't know how you go home to the supper table and Brittany Russell looks across the table to her husband, Sheldon Russell, the top jock there in Maryland, and he doesn't lobby for the mount. I mean, how do you let Eric Camacho keep riding this horse, right? I mean, you got to say, honey, put me up.
Eric's got to he's going to have to remain undefeated. I mean, maybe when they get to the Derby, if they get that far, all bets will be off then, but they're not taking him off as long as he keeps winning by himself. And I like the fact that he's not, asking him either. I mean, he knows the horse and he's just kind of letting him do what he wants to do and kind of coasting home. So, but you're right. I mean, there might be a demand there sooner or later. Hey, I'm on that horse now.
Put me in, coach. Right? I mean,
right.
That's
exactly.
What you got to say. Let's talk about our bonus topic this week. Right now, gathering as we record in the city of Tucson, Arizona, is the annual Global Symposium on Racing and Wagering. Folks from all over the world. It's kind of like the winter meetings in baseball, if you will. Everybody gets together. It's a good time for drink. It's a good time for golf. It's a good time to do business. I've been there a couple times over the years. I've enjoyed the time there. They're going through various topics with the lecture series as well. And, you can talk about anything from wagering security to, marketing and things like that. You see our First Technologies booth on the left there, showing off some new tech, some items like track optics, which would allow you to see the stride length of every horse in a race, things like that. A lot of the technology gets shown off out there. And, of course, the panels and discussions. Simon Fraser, far left there, discussing the impact on international wagering on a symposium panel earlier today. Jeff, our topic for the symposium, if we had our druthers, that's what I want to take on in our bonus topic this week. If you could set the symposium schedule, what thing would you like to see debated there amongst racing's brain trust?
Well, the thing that I would like to see is something that affects me. I mean, why not, if I can choose? Sure. Because in this day and age of simulcast and the ability to wager on any track, I would like to see a discussion on how various tracks can make their simulcast presentation the best it can be, because that really does affect the mutual handle, I think. And that's what keeps us in business. I mean, we're all in competition now with other tracks. It didn't used to be that way when I was growing up. You go to Santa Anita, that's all you could bet on. But now you can bet on anything you want. And I think it's important for every track to put on the best show, because that'll entice the viewers to watch your production and bet on your track. They have an option, and every racetrack, and I have the RTN network. You don't need that to watch the simulcast races. I do it because I have it on the big screen, but you can watch all the races, the simulcast shows on, like, for example, if you're betting on Express Bet, you can just put up the video. So you don't need RTN, but I have it. And I watch all the simulcast shows. I want to see who's doing what and who's putting the work in to help me and to entice me to gamble on their track. And I think that some, let's face it, some tracks do a really good job of it. Some kind of maybe for financial considerations, they don't have the personnel or the facility to do it. But I'd like to see maybe more, for me anyway, more information, less selections. That's what I'd like to do. I mean, if you're going to put up a pick six ticket of 4x5 by 3x5, whatever, so much time is spent doing this means nothing to me. It's just kind of what they call a caveman ticket. I want to know. I talked to this trainer. I talked to this jockey. I saw this replay. I saw this workout. This is what I found out. This is the information they have. That's what would entice me to listen and watch. And I know on our signal at Santa Anita, we do that a lot. I mean, Zoe and Millie do a great job of scouring information in the morning. We've got the workouts, which I think really does put Santa Anita's signal ahead of most of the others. We can talk about workouts. Oh, we worked a bullet work. Yeah, well, let's go watch it. We do that, So, I mean, and there are other tracks that I'd like to play that I just don't get that kind of information. Right. On the other hand, there are some tracks who don't have the ability to do that, but they have really sharp guys. I mean, they do the work. You know that. So all of these reasons, Jeremy, I mean, that impacts what tracks I might want to bet on. And I would think that there would be some kind of, I don't know, evaluation or research as to what horse players who are watching your signal, what do they want and what will they respond to? What do you think?
I think that's absolutely right. And even when you think about sports games, the broadcast team matters, I mean, like I tuned in this past weekend. I mean, I would have watched Oklahoma play Villanova no matter what, because I'm a Sooner. But when you put the broadcast team together, it was Tom McCarthy, who's the play-by-play voice for the Phillies, who's getting a lot of work now with CBS, who's outstanding. And you team him up with Bill Raftery, who just is, to me, the king of the kings when it comes to color analysts. I had a pleasure of meeting Raft back in like 1990. One of the thrills of my life. I mean, you met Elvis. I met Bill Raftery. So that's
hey, I'd rather watch Bill Raftery. He is a degenerate, by the way. You know that. He loves the track.
Yes.
And I say that with affection,
But you put like a broadcast team together like that. Think of all the money they put together for Joe Buck and Troy Aikman to try to rescue Monday Night Football. Sure. Peyton and Eli trying a little different deal, The broadcast matters and the presentation matters. So I agree with you. As for a topic I would like to see symposium discussed in seriousness, in like realistic numbers, not just concepts, is how to scale the business of horse racing. Scaling a business, how much do you invest for what you expect to get back? What size is right? How many days a week should we be running? How many races should we be running? What's the maximum number of entries that we need in a race? What's the minimum number of entries we need in a race? How do we scale the business to maximize it? Scheduling times, too many races within, on a Monday, 4 races going off in the 2:00 hour, that kind of deal like that. How do we scale this business and put the best foot forward? If we had X number of races per hour over this time, what would be the best for revenue? I think if somebody could scale this, a good economist, a good business manager could look at this and discuss amongst the group and try to scale the business properly, I think we would learn a lot about how to maximize what we're doing, not only as an ADW, but as a live race product and everything else that goes with it too. So scale, to me, it's big. As a small business owner myself, it's always about scale. There are projects I want to do, but they're not financially sensible. They would cost way too much for the revenue I would get back. Then there's other ones that take very little revenue and just effort that you can scale and make good money off of. And it's more productive to do something that somebody else might think is not as sexy, but is way more financially productive. And I think we get caught in the sexy way too much in horse racing. We want everything to be sexy. We want everything to be sexy. But a good, effective, scaled business would actually be way more profitable than being popular or sexy could be. And so as we fight for every dollar against sports wagering, which to me appears, look at the handle numbers way down for Cigar Mile weekend. Fourth quarter of this year, I think is going to come in way down. I think we're seeing the effects of sports betting across the country this year, far more than last year, hitting the racing industry. So we've got to figure out how to scale the right size.
Right. One more thing, and that same version, discussion point. I just, and you don't have to go on. You can give me a 2-sentence response here, but I've noticed that many tracks have really scaled back their advertising for on-track attendance. Like, for example, Del Mar used to love to have 50,000 people crammed in. Their Belmont Stakes the same way. Now they're backing off on that. Maybe it's because they feel that people are uncomfortable when it's too crowded on big days. Maybe they feel they'd rather have people sit at home in bed. I don't know. I mean, have you noticed that? And do you think that's a proper course?
I think it is happening. And Keeneland held their attendance pretty well during the fall, but it was a record wagering crowd, for the meet, not necessarily attendance. I don't think anybody in racing is back to pre-COVID levels of attendance. I think that is just now they say a lot of times in pandemics or major natural disasters and stuff that it just quickens the path you were already heading, right? If your business was already going like this and something terrible like that happens, it quickens the demise. Right. If it was on the trajectory uprise, it can make it go higher and faster. So on-track attendance was already dwindling. We were going to a more remote, thumbs world. I think this expedited it for horse racing. And I think you're talking about resizing the grandstand at Belmont to a smaller facility and things like that. Multi-purpose facilities like Gulfstream Park, with the malls and everything that go with it. That's probably, that's where we're headed, I think. And so, I think that's where we're at right now. And I agree. The tracks with the on-track attendance even is just a little bit different ballgame. And COVID has a percentage to do with that for sure. And the path we were on has a lot to do with it as well. So those are the topics that Jeff and I would like to see at a symposium down the line. Certainly, we hope everybody out in Arizona has a good time this weekend, get some good work done. We don't necessarily solve the issues of the industry so much in those things, but I know this personally. You make a lot of good contacts and you make a lot of good business associations by being at conferences like that. And honestly, when it comes to dealing with people in the industry, this has been my experience for 30 years and yours way longer than that. It is about the relationships you build with people when they stick around. When you get the people who hang around 6, 8, 10 years at a particular company and you have a good association with them, that's when you get things done. When we have this constant turnover of people who are new, you teach them the game and they're gone in a year or two because they never really got into it. You can't get a lot of progress made. It's like, if you were changing out the people that you were dealing with every year or two, you just can't make that dig in progress. So these are good things. The symposium is a good place to meet. I guarantee I made some lifelong friends out there in the industry by sitting down and hanging out with them there for 3-4 days in Arizona 15, 20 years ago even. So good opportunity.
I went to my first in 1976 when I was working for Hollywood Park. Yeah. So I haven't been back too often since, but you're right. You never know. You go there, you don't know what you're going to learn, who you're going to meet, and what idea might pop into your head that you might be able to carry on. But hopefully something, again, some good will come of it this year, and we'll be able to, utilize that down the road.
And there's some fun poker games in the back ballrooms late at night after everybody comes out from going out to dinner or a club or something like that. Some good poker games take place in the back ballroom. So that's always a fun time there. You get some stories there that you'll maybe or maybe not be able to share in public down the line. That's going to wrap up this edition of It's Official. We've got 5 topics on the board this week. And Jeff, you can now declare them official, and we'll do it all again next Tuesday. Of course, between now and then, you and I will be back on Friday for the First Call podcast, where we preview some weekend stakes races, a couple stakes races down at Gulfstream Park this weekend. I think we got Champions Day at Fairgrounds for the Louisiana bred. So a lot of racing action, a lot of stakes to preview coming up on Friday.
Yeah, we'll have that for Friday as we mark down time to December 26th when what a day we're going to have at Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita concurrently, and we'll talk about that later on. But got a little bit of couple of weeks to kind of take a deep breath, and then we just dive right back into it.
All right. On behalf of everybody with First Technologies, my partner, Jeff Siegel, I'm going to get this lighting situation figured out that just popped on me in the middle of the broadcast. I'm Jeremy Plonk. We'll talk to you.